This has been an awesome week here, wrapping up the PHPA annual meetings. Very productive, a lot of contributions from a lot of clubs. I just want to help educate, spread who you are to the players and what you're about and how you're helping the PHPA. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point.
Well, first, I appreciate you guys having me on. I think what you're doing here, we were talking about it last night and throughout the week, is this is what our members need to do to share that we can come together and educate and talk and move the union forward. But the work that you guys are doing is what's making our group stronger. So I thank you. You know, so grew up on the West Coast playing rugby, switched over to football, came down to the US to go to school, got my accounting degree, played 9 years in the CFL. When I did, I was player rep and one of our executive members up there. And I think I came into a room at the beginning of my career that was a really strong veteran presence room. And we had 2 vice presidents of the union at the time on that team as I came in as a rookie. And they really instilled sort of that power of that collective power from us as a team that year, but also the strength of the union and how it can protect the membership. And that kind of evolved over time as I became a player rep, as I became one of the active executive members, and then ultimately transitioned into the role of ED for the CFLPA, where I did that for 10 years.
Why did you want to become a player rep?
There's an opportunity to be a voice for sometimes your teammates, your peers that may not have a voice or may not have an ability to be in a position. I think we all know in sports, you know, depending on timing, where you are in your career, your contract, the different pressures that are put on everybody. And there's an opportunity. Like I said, I learned from those before me that did such a good job in terms of being able to stick up for your teammates off the field in a different way that we all do on the field and on the ice.
Yep. What is your job? So you come into this executive director role for the PHPA with experience as the executive director of the CFLPA. What is your job for us right now where the game of hockey is at?
I think the game's in a very good spot. You know, my job in particular is to listen to you guys, is to listen to the membership, ask questions. I mean, if you look at the session this week, it was as much dialogue from the room to our team in the office as much as it was our office reporting back to the room. And my job is to make sure that there's a voice for every one of our members to be able to say what's important. I mean, the message that came out of the team visits this year, the message we started with this meeting is this is your guys' union. Mm-hmm. So my job is to help facilitate that.
Yeah. Real quick, me and Z went on a run, and I was telling Z, when I look at Brian, like, he was made for 2 things. He was made for football, and he was made to help the boys get what they deserve in terms of like bargaining, and just like I couldn't think of a better person for it. But I was telling Z, like, it's so impressive that you were able to be this one guy. And I think of like football players like, let's go, you know, and then also just be so like intellectual about everything and really think things through. When for the golf event yesterday, I was riding with Adam Larry, and he was telling, like, he speaks extremely highly of you, and he was just telling me about how impressive it is that you know, he can call you about NIL, someone can call you about workers' comp, and all the aspects, every single department, you're aware of what's going on, and you want to stay on top of all these things. It's like, where does all this like discipline and just like willingness and passion for this stuff come from?
You know, well, one of the things that you guys were running across each other, you can tell what I wasn't built for, and that's running. I was walking. So, no, you and I were talking last night after dinner. And I was talking about sort of the rules at home and with the kids in sports and different things like that. It's what I've learned, and I've learned from others, is that, you know, you surround yourself with incredibly talented people, and your team is going to do well. And we talked a lot about that, and we have in this organization about building that team. Adam's a great example. If you look at the presenters all week and the people that are in our organization already, everyone's an expert in what they do, and we're asking them to do their job. And when you build that team and that team mentality, like, we all come from sport background where we understand that, right? And so it's the language that we're used to. It's the language I used to. What we're doing here is no different than what you guys are doing on the ice right now when you get into a training camp. This last year was, it's almost training camp for the PAs. There was a transition and then you sort of build that out, and there's an understanding and a comfort level for me included, because I grew up 30 years playing competitive sports. I know my role on the team. My role on the team is not to be the expert on NIL and sports licensing. That's Adams. That's what he does. And I know if you look across our team in our office and Matt and workers' comp, I know enough about workers' comp, but I know enough that to bring Matt into that conversation. Why? Because he's an expert. You guys look on your team. Everyone has a job. You guys have jobs to do on your rosters, right?
Yep.
And that we're just building it the same way.
And you have the intangibles of a great teammate, because you're the first one that I saw in the gym every morning. After you give 3 hours of presentations during the meetings, we're in meetings for 6 hours, educating us. Then you're at the pool, solving the world's problems, talking to everybody, socializing. And then after dinner, you're with everybody again, hanging out at the bar, watching the Stanley Cup, watching the Calder Cup, watching our members play, talking with everybody, helping solve the world's problems again. And it's like, you don't get that because your clock is going 18 hours a day. Like, you're punched in all day, but you're such a great listener. And when I'm talking to you, I can see that you're already coming up with solutions to the issues. And then you go, well, this is why we're going to do this and this. So it's just an attribute to you being ultra prepared in all situations. And we are so grateful that you are the executive director of our union.
I appreciate that. But guys, think about this, is that how do you guys prepare for a hockey game? Like, and I'm talking not just the day of, I'm talking
Practice,
training in the off season,
Yep.
right? And the preparation going in, and then your visualization when you go into when you're on your way to the rink, or you're playing the same song, or you're going the same way in the car, or whatever that is. It's the same thing, right? That's what I know. That's what I'm comfortable with.
Yep.
We're just trying to find a way to translate that into an organization. I think so. When I left football, I was with KPMG for 10 years. I went to school to be an accountant, and I thought that's what my career path was. And I think all the things we're talking about now and how that sort of transitions to then finding something that you're so passionate about is sticking up for your teammates, right? I mean, that's when it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah. And this is exactly what the players want. They want a great person, somebody that they can hang out with by the pool after they sat in meetings with them all day and hang out later. You did something very cool this year. You visited every team in our membership in the AHL and the ECHL. How was your tour, and why was that so important?
And how was your body?
Everybody. So we saw the stats of the trip. I mean, it was the first thing we had to do, right? And I mean, it was 61 teams, 56 cities. I think we did it in. I joked with the staff that it didn't matter if the meeting was on the bus, on a plane, in a hotel, we'd do it in the parking lot. Didn't matter. The point was making sure that everyone had a chance to give their input as a member into our organization. And I had a chance to meet everyone. I got to shake everyone's hand. And like you said, listen to what is important to the organization, which is you guys. And then, so when you go and you do the team visits and you go around, you can throw a ton of information at somebody in a short amount of time. And we've all been in meetings, and it's hard to retain in this. There was really two things that we left with you guys. I mean, yes, we gave you updates and talked about key issues that were going on at the time, but the most important one was the one we opened with this session is you guys have to know, and this is what I was so excited about this week, is that not only do you guys know, but you started putting it into action, is that this is your organization. This is your union, right? And by going around and having that, having that conversation with everyone in our membership, they need to, and they should be feeling ownership in the group. So I loved it. It was, I don't think we're going to do it a little bit different next year, just because there's only so much time in a calendar. We will see everybody, but we may break it up a little bit different, so we're a bit more efficient in the office.
Any surprises on your tour? Any favorite cities, hidden gems?
You know what, I mean, it was.
They didn't see the city. They saw the locker rooms.
Locker rooms we saw, but yeah, basements of rinks, we saw hotels. Some cities, the way we did it, and this is in part what we're gonna do next year is to give it a bit more time because we were so rushed. The purpose was getting in to see everybody. I mean, there were cities, I remember, flying in the night before doing a dinner meeting in Cincy, seeing the guys in the morning, driving up to Indy, doing a lunch meeting with the guys, and then ended up in Kalamazoo that night, right? So you're in Indy for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
You don't get to see the city much.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
How important is this alliance with the NHLPA for our membership?
It's incredibly important. I mean, for the same reasons it was important for us to watch the Stanley Cup and the Calder Cup while we were sitting there after dinner together as a group. We're a hockey union, right? They're a hockey union. So we're in the same industry. So that's important right there. I mean, I would argue that it's important for us to have relationships with everybody in labor because we're doing the same things, even though we're steel workers and hockey players and football players and basketball players. But hockey in particular, and that organization where we see and we know, like we talk about no surprises. It's no surprise next year we're going to have a whole bunch of members transition and a whole bunch of their members transition into our membership. So for us to be aligned on that, again, if it's our job to take pressure off and to help the overall well-being of our memberships, well, then working together makes sense. From a strategic standpoint and getting ahead of it, sharing best practices in terms of, athletes and what they're going through, whether it's transition, or education or different things that we can do. It's the same thing. So it's strength in numbers.
Yep.
They've been fantastic. Marty's been fantastic. I got to know Marty when I was still in football. That relationship has just continued to grow. And I think it's going to be a strong point for our membership.
Absolutely. Is there a common question that you get asked throughout both leagues and that you found?
From membership?
Yeah, from membership. Is there like just a question that you're like, wow?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, maybe a not so common question then, because obviously people want more money. They want to work less. They want better conditions. But
I mean, this year is bargaining year, and so coming in with the transition, 2 collective agreements expiring in the summer. In a way, it's trial by fire, but it's also great because you get to hear about all the issues that the membership have immediately. Right? You're not waiting for 3 or 4 years when bargaining to come up. It's like, no, this is what's important to us right now. Yeah, money's always, but it should be. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what you guys do for a living, right? And so that's always a question. Communication, how we can communicate as our organization to the membership. But it's about the working relationship. That's probably the first thing that comes up always is how do you make the working conditions better.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As a person who came from football, like why was it hockey? Is it more kind of like now that your career is over, you just look at it more as like protecting players and like the union in general more than like whichever sport it is you're working in, or is it something about the game? Or
I think there's 2 answers. I think the first one, Nico, is when my career playing finished, I realized you're either advocating for somebody or you're not. And there's bullies everywhere. It doesn't matter where, right? And so now this opportunity in particular, like I had a chance to get to know a lot of you guys before I'd come down to this annual meeting. My first visit was in 2018 to present to the group. I'd come back again in 22 to present on another topic from the football union. And your membership is incredibly hardworking, loyal, and good people. And so when you look around opportunities and you say, okay, that's what takes the sport away. It doesn't matter. I want to be around good people. You guys are great people that want to move this forward. I want to be a part of that. Right? So it's less about the sport. Still need you guys to teach me how to skate properly. And
I don't know if they make skates that big.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, 15 wides. I just think what you guys have here, the opportunity and the foundation of this organization and where it is today and where you guys want to take it. That's what drew me in. I want to be a part of that.
is if there's one thing you want our membership to take away from this podcast, what would it be?
It's the one we talked about. It's the ownership of the union, right? It's the, if you're under a standard player contract in the AHL, the ECHL, you are part owner of the PHPA, right? And to ask questions in your first week, your first year. The most powerful thing we have in our organization is our membership, without a doubt. And that's in terms of if we want to move initiatives forward, licensing and sponsorship, some of the things we talked about. And then communication, right? We can send the newsletters out in the different ways and tools that, but the most powerful thing is everyone coming out of these meetings this week and going back into their respective locker rooms and saying, you know, this is what's there for you, and here's some opportunities, and this is where you can move this forward. I think that's the most important message for guys to understand, that this organization, this union, is them. It's you guys.
That's like the biggest, I think, hurdle that the PHPA has, is just getting guys to understand that this is our union and that this is put in place here to help us. And Brian, the executive, is working for us to help us.
That's exactly what it is.
Right. Yeah. So like, if we have a concern or anything, like, you're the first guy that would love to know about it, because it's your job to help us fix these concerns, you know. And that's kind of where, like it's a lot on the reps, it's a lot on everything, and I know everything is changing in the right direction. But it's like kind of just that simple thing of just understanding that, like, the union is ours, it's for us, and it's only to benefit us, and that's it. Like, these guys, you know. It's
so ironically, our staff, our team in the office, none of us are in the collective agreements, right? That's your collective agreement. Our job is to help facilitate where you guys want to go. You guys give us the map, it's our job to load the truck and start driving. And whether that's providing tools and some of that. I mean, I thought the session we had that second day, that discussion at the end of the day, I was talking to Matt about it, and we came up with probably 10 or 12 things, actionable things to be able to say, here, the onboarding packages, the first year things that we talked about. One of the hardest parts about a sports union, as I learned more and we work inside labor, the traditional union, you're in that union for 30 to 40 years. You know, our average career is 3 years in sports, right? And so the minute that you start to educate and someone starts to be able to, you can't wait 3 or 4 years, because transition. You've got to have that constant engagement right from the beginning, and you've got to encourage guys to be able to ask those questions right from the very moment they join the organization, and to feel comfortable doing that.
Yes, and the culture is shifting, but there's still relapses. And what I mean by that is, we just had a great week of meetings, and last night after dinner, a player comes to us and says, I had a concussion 4 or 5 years ago, but they can't do anything for me now. And we say, we just had a panelist of
7
lawyers.
Yeah, you should have raised your hand.
Well, why didn't you ask? It was, because they probably can't do anything. We got to get rid of that, and you are getting rid of that, because just ask the question.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in that room and you have access to these people, right?
Yes. It does not hurt to ask.
So that's a great example, because some guys are comfortable asking in that room, some guys aren't. They came to you. Now you bring it up and you bring it in that way. So you take down the barriers for guys not to ask questions. Some guys are comfortable in that larger setting. Some guys aren't, and that's okay. There's not a wrong answer. We just have to make sure they've got the channels to be able to bring it forward, right?
I think that we are getting rid of that, and eventually there will be no cases of that.
Well, but you said it earlier too, Zach, is that I think there will always be a case, because there will always be someone new coming into the organization. It's as the union becomes that stronger in that area, that's when it won't wait 4 or 5 years, right? Because it'll be you guys teaching the next guys and the next guys and that. But there will always be somebody coming in, because we're always going to have a new guy. The minute I got done seeing the 61st team, then, you know, there was all new rosters, right? Right? So
you got to start over.
I saw some guys twice.
Yeah, that's right.
Before we wrap this up, I want to just talk about your playing career really quickly. Your last season, you finished as a champion, won the Grey Cup, and then you smooth sail off into the horizon, transition into the CFLPA, and you get nominated later on to the Greater Victoria Sports Hall of Fame. How special was that?
Yeah, it was we're playing pro sports. It's our job, right? And so you learn quickly the business side of it, and it becomes a job at the end of the day, but we all want to win, right? So that last year was special because, and it's the big people you're with, right? And that's what you remember the most. And then you also think of the people around you quickly, right? You think about, I mean, the honor this last fall into the Hall of Fame was, it was incredibly special for me because it was an opportunity for me to thank everybody that allowed me to get there. You don't do anything by yourself, right? And then, so that for me was a moment to be able to reflect. And I still remember the evening vividly and being able to share it with my wife and children and my parents and my siblings and my friends. And you think about the morning practices and you think about the late nights and the road trips away from the family and all those things. So really it was an opportunity to, as much as it's an individual going into a Hall of Fame, it's not an individual going into a Hall of Fame, it's everybody. It's right. So it was a pretty special time to be able to, for me, use that to thank everybody. Yeah, and it was pretty neat.
Very cool. Very cool. That's all I got.
Yeah, I really just enjoyed just speaking with or hearing you speak. And then, like I said, like I'm so excited for the future of the PHPA with you on board. Like ever since you've gotten on board, I seem to now understand exactly what the PHPA is, and that's I think the most important thing is the education. And once the members understand what the PHPA is, they're going to get really excited about it as well, So, but yeah, like Z said, we appreciate you so much taking the time to come on. And
I remembered one thing. Last year at these meetings, I was sitting down after dinner in the lobby with Brett Sutter, and he was on the executive committee going through the process of hiring you. And I asked Brett, I'm like, how's it going? He's like, there's a clear candidate and you will love him. I'm like, okay, like, what can you give me? He's like, this guy is prepared. He is cut out for this. I promise you guys will be in great hands. And he has been spot on about that.
All right, guys, I appreciate that. But look, the organization right from the very beginning, our job in the office is just to go in that direction you're sending us. How we're getting stronger every day. We talk about that in the meetings, every day a little bit stronger. It's the engagement that you guys are doing. And I mean that because we're only going to be as strong as our membership is. And the time that you guys are putting in, the time that you're doing this and promoting our organization, the time you took away in an off season to be down here in full day meetings, the time on the executive calls, the bargaining calls, all those things are what's moving our organization forward. And I appreciate you letting me have a chat with you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brett.
you're the man.